How's it going? Andrew here, and welcome to the Creative Endeavor Podcast. The podcast bringing you inspiring stories from creative professionals from around the world. And in this episode, I'm talking to Kate Zambrano, who creates some beautiful charcoal drawings. Now, as part of my Sketch Endeavor series, I've been looking far and wide for inspiration with drawing and looking at a lot of the top artists today and how they approach drawing as a medium. And naturally, I found Kate to be quite an inspiration. Now, she primarily uses charcoal, and she uses this in a really unique way. I wanted to ask her not only about her creative process and how she creates her drawings, but also about her approach to the art business as well. We had a great conversation, a really good back and forth, in particular about social media and how some big company changes can really affect the way we do things as artists in this day and age. So if this sounds like something that you would enjoy, chuck it on while you're working in the studio, either making a painting yourself or doing a drawing, and have this playing in the background. And I really hope that stories like these continue to inspire you. So without further ado, here's Kate Zambrano in the Creative Endeavor. Kate Zambrano, welcome to the Creative Endeavor Podcast. I love starting the podcast off this way, so let me just ask you a very broad question to begin, because it's always so exciting to hear about how somebody starts off on their creative journey and then ends up being a successful artist. Can you take us back to the beginning of when you first realized you wanted to be an artist and what that kind of moment in your life was like?
For me, it wasn't necessarily a light bulb moment, like, I want to be an artist. It was more, I'm tired of doing all this other stuff, and maybe I can try to do this. And so I just decided to try it and just stick with it. I think that's the only difference is, like, I didn't quit doing it. Like, I quit everything else. But the things that I quit weren't necessarily like awesome stuff. It was just like, I didn't know what I was doing, and I just wanted to do something and like feel fulfilled. So, I mean, you know how it is whenever you're making something and you can't get it and you're not sure why, so you just keep trying it. Like, this was the only thing I've ever done that made me feel that way, and I've continued to feel that way the whole time. So that's how I ended up here. I still don't feel like, oh yeah, I'm going to be an artist or I'm an artist. Like, that's what I do and that's what I am, but it doesn't it feels weird to quantify yourself in that way. So for me, this is just like what I've chosen to do and not give up on, I guess.
That's awesome. I mean, was there ever another, so there was never another option for you that you allowed yourself? I mean, a lot of people, when I talk to other artists, it can either go one of two ways. When they express a desire to be creative as a youngster, and wanting to go into creative field, they either feel like an enormous amount of support or challenge from those around them. I was really lucky. Yeah. I said, hey, I want to be an artist when I grow up. In fact, at that time, I was like a really serious kid. I'm like, I am an artist right now. That's never going to change. So I'm not trying to be cute. I was just one of those little kids that you're
it's like, super amazing that you knew that, like that. Yeah. I never had that moment. So it's like, it's really cool that you just knew that you yourself, you're made out of everything that makes art.
But it was easy for me because my father was an artist, and so him being a professional artist was like, okay, kid, here we go. Let's just do it. So for you, when you were kind of getting into it, what was that like from the people around you? They
did not understand. Like,
wow.
I'm from Texas originally, so like there were just so many things that I did in my life that, like, I'm sure my dad was like, oh man, like, what a not Texan. Like, I don't eat meat. I'm vegan. He's like, bummer town. And then I moved to New York City and I'm like, I'm going to be a model. And then they're like, what? And I moved to LA like as a model. My dad's just like, what are you doing? And then I'm like, hey dad, I'm going to be an artist. So like only recently has it really like kind of stuck that like that's what I do. My dad still for a while was just like, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand what you do. So it wasn't like I'm going to do all these things and everybody was like, yes you are, that's incredible. Mostly it was just like, huh? Like, they didn't understand. So I didn't necessarily meet resistance against it, like, no, you can't do it, or yes, you should do it. It was mostly just like, whatever you want to, I don't know. I don't get it.
Wow. Yeah. Look, I'm from Texas too.
You're in Texas, where you from?
My whole family's from Austin. So
That's crazy.
yeah, I was born in a place called Kerrville. So my
Oh yeah.
entire,
Yeah.
you know where that is?
Yeah, that's like it comes on like Randy Beamer talks about it during the weather, like about, that's where the intense weather always is in Kerrville. I'm like, why doesn't it come to Shirts? Like that's where I lived in Shirts.
In shirts.
Most
Okay.
people don't know Shirts, so I say San Antonio because it's just like, just right there.
Yeah,
But
cool, cool.
that's so weird.
Well, yeah, no, I'm one of those. I got out a bit like you. I got out of there. But
You got to get out.
look, I mean, there's a lot going on in Texas. Apparently,
I
Austin's a
love
really
Texas. We're driving to Texas next week. Like my family's still there. We have a great time there. But like at the time when you grow up in a small town in Texas, it's
yeah,
not like you want to get out. Like you
yeah.
don't. Now it's better to go back now. But like any kind of small town, you got to get out. Anyway, go
You
ahead. I'm
do.
sorry I
No,
interrupted
no,
you.
no, not at all. No, no. Look, I just, it's so cool. So, so that when you started doing this and you first realized like you could do this for your professional like life and derive
Right.
an income from this, where were you at that time? Like how when did that transition happen? Were you holding down maybe a part-time job at the time and then
Yeah.
you just launched into
Yeah, I was
full-time
like
art?
working like little jobs, like not career type jobs, just like, oh, you're gonna work in like a marketing place or like I had the weirdest jobs. Like when I lived in New York City, I worked at the NYMEX building, like Wall Street type stuff. Not qualified for that. Sorry, NYMEX. But like I just anything to like pay your bills. It wasn't necessarily like I was fulfilled by these things. So I would like, like do assistant work or I would do like admin, executive, like, data entry things. But I would always have something around. And then like somehow I lucked out in being able to, draw while I was working. Or, if I was an assistant, I had a lot of time. So I was just, drawing, trying to like get better. So I was able to do it. It wasn't like a grueling job that I had at the time. And then I started kind of accumulating a lot of things, building. Like, luckily, I feel really lucky that I didn't come into art like 10 years previous before like the internet. I came into it when Tumblr was like really hot. And so, like, I started posting my stuff on Tumblr. I think I had like 1,000 followers, and I was like, "This is like what? Like that was a lot. That's
Wow.
so many people. A
Yeah.
thousand people liked my stuff, like reposting, reblogging it. A friend of mine said, "Hey, you should check out Instagram." I was like, "Oh, that photo filtering app? Yeah, I have that." And I didn't know it was a social media app. I was just like, "Oh, there's just like 1,000 pictures of Nashville style dog photos of my puppy or something." Like I thought it was just like to like edit and like put filters on your stuff. And so I was like, "Oh, okay." So I moved over to Instagram, and then just from there it started building. So I had like an accumulation of work like in sketchbooks, and so I was just like, oh, I'm going to sell these for like $50. And then like they sold out, and I was just like, you guys like my stuff? Like that's incredible that people wanted to buy my work. And then from there people would be like, oh, well, you draw so and so. So then commission started, and then gallery started. So luckily I don't feel like I had to work as hard as people did like, 10 years previous to me.
Hmm.
It's difficult to maintain it because social media is so like rapid and quick moving. But like at the time, that's when I decided, whenever I was just like, I was chasing that like wanting to get better feeling while still like being able to have people like, hey, I'm going to give you some money for, this drawing of so and so or whatever. And I just kind of didn't have a light bulb moment, but I did have like, I want to do this. Like, this is what I'm going to do. This is the only thing that's ever made me feel this way.
That's awesome. That is so cool. I I was one of those people that came up before the internet, and it was definitely
Man,
before social media started.
so
And it
much
was,
work.
well, it was, but it was a
It's
different time, and I was very lucky to be caught in a kind of like a microcosm of a really healthy market, really healthy area in Perth in Western Australia is where I kind
mhm.
of built my career. So by the time I hit social media, I was already late to the game. People already had huge Instagram, Facebook, even YouTube channels, which I'm pretty active
Yeah.
on YouTube now. So I was late coming into this, but
But you had an actual like in-person career. Like that's what's
yeah,
hard now with Instagram.
yeah,
Like the people that are like Instagram famous or
mm,
have all these followers, it's not sustainable because like now they're hiding people, like they don't show up, the algorithm's different. Like it's amazing to see like how quick it like fizzles out. Like these little
mm,
things were just like it's like a fad. So like the things that you actually did, like I'm actually envious of it because
Right.
I didn't come up like I feel really lucky for like the, however far I've gotten
Mm.
to this point, but it's not, since it's not sustainable, I'm just like, man, I wish I would have had the hours, putting into actual networking, like in-person things and like
Yeah.
a solid base of tangibility, I guess.
Yeah, so there's a tangible nuts and bolts business aspect to being an artist, which I try to maintain and sustain, independent of what's going on online. Because I find this social media thing, maybe we could talk about this a little bit because
Love to. The
so,
bane of my existence.
social media is a really interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, look, you're sitting on more than twice as many followers as I've got. I mean, like you've got what is it, 85 something thousand? Who's counting, right? But I mean, it's almost an inconceivable amount of people because
That's why I don't know, because I
yeah,
don't. I think maybe 100 I could understand. Like I've met 100 people. Like I could list probably a
yeah,
100 people that I met. I don't. It just, like you said, it's just like inconceivable. I can't
doesn't
imagine eighty five
yeah.
thousand people that are like, "Hey, your work's cool." I'm like, no, no. Like I want to hide because I'm just like,
Totally, yeah,
what?
totally overwhelming. I mean, the way I try to think about this is I don't know what's the big concert hall in the United States, Madison Square Gardens. So if somebody plays at Madison Square Gardens, how many
Like
people
a
is
big,
that? Is that like nearly 50,000 people or so?
is that what that one is?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Somebody's probably fact checking
Sure,
this
yes.
right now. Let's go with this. But I try to imagine, okay, look, 50,000 people standing in front of you in like a stadium type arena.
I would cry. Like, I'm sorry. Just like run off.
But this is the interesting thing because here,
Unstoppable.
and this is why I love talking to artists like yourself, is because when we get to hear from people like you that it's not about the numbers thing, that what it's about is actually to hear you. I want to hear you talk about the work. That's what I really want to get into. But the social media dynamic that we set up as artists, I found that when I first started out, I'm not sure if you were like this as well. I mean, there was a cool novelty factor of, you get 1,000, 2,000, then maybe 10,000. It just
Then you
starts
get to the
building.
10, there's a K. Like
Yeah,
that's what it was like.
there's
I'm
a
like,
K.
I remember being at dinner like, it's gonna happen. I just kept refreshing like a loser. But like I just, again, I couldn't conceive that
Yeah.
many people. Like as soon as it went to like from 9, like it says it however, like 9,000 whatever, and then as soon as you get to 10 you get the K. And I was just like, anyway, sorry.
No, got to get that K, man. Got to get that K.
Geeking out about like, really, guys?
Yeah.
Crazy.
But to me, looking at it now from my perspective, and again, not as big a following as what you've got, but I still look at it and I'm like, whoa, man, like you could really lose yourself playing the social media game and
Yeah. Oh my
completely
God, yes.
divorce yourself from the artwork and the creativity. You know,
I mean, yeah, I'm like definitely sorry to like cut you off. Like
no, please.
I went through it last year. Like whenever they did the algorithm shift, my life, my livelihood, my income comes from mostly the internet. Like actually that's how people find out about my workshops. That the internet is my career. So especially Instagram, like if I needed to like pay bills, like hey, I have these pieces available, people would buy it, people would get commissions. Like it was pretty steady. I didn't need a gallery. I did the galleries to get a bigger following of people that could see my work, but I didn't need them because they took 50%. So why would I share it if I'm going to be selling it on my own? So that's how that's my
Yeah,
rationale.
yeah.
So whenever the algorithm shifted last like January or February, everybody that I know was just
Wow.
devastated. Like
Wow.
it's getting less and less. I read an article recently, like our reach is going to eventually be 0%. It's at less than 1% now. So like how are people supposed to make a living where they used to make a living? So I did get wrapped up in it. Like I didn't necessarily lose a lot of followers because like people, like they unfollow you all the time, but you usually get more in. And so like that didn't really affect me. It was that each post I was making wasn't getting seen. And people would be like, "Hey, are you still making art?" Like yeah, for sure, like every day.
Yeah.
But they weren't seeing it. So it before people were talking about it, it felt very personal and it felt like my career's over. Like this is only happening to me and like I went into a huge depression over it because
Oh.
like you said, like you lose yourself, you divorce who you were and making the art. Like I was making art for Instagram basically to make a living. So it was like my career was just like, oh, I know people like highlights in the eye. And I know like people like me to do this. So anytime I would do something out of that, they didn't like it. Now they like it even less. But because I don't have a reach anymore, now I'm free to do whatever I want. Because
Wow.
now it's like gone from like Instagram ruined my life to like, hey, now I can make art for myself again, which is why you have to make it. So it kind of like serendipitously worked itself out, even though I'm still not reaching anybody. Like I
Yeah.
don't even know if anybody sees my work anymore at all. I'm still on there, by the way. But like,
I see your work. I mean,
well,
that's it.
great, because like sometimes like I don't even see my boyfriend's posts. Like it's weird. I'm like,
Yeah.
where are the people that I want to see? I follow these people because I love their
Yeah.
work, or like they're my friends. I want to see what they're up to.
Yeah. And should
But
we just mention, in case he does pop up in the background, or we're talking about your boyfriend? Your boyfriend is Sean Cheatham. Can we just mention
yeah,
that in the podcast?
yes, you can.
Amazing painter, and somebody that I'm really looking forward to talking to as well.
Yeah, he's
So
helped.
I always wondered what it would be like to date or be with another artist. I mean, I'm married now. I've been with my wife now for 10 years, and
Congrats, that's a really long time.
yeah, well, we're hoping to go all the way, So we're
All the years.
all the years.
I feel like
No,
that's the intention for sure.
of
Like,
course,
why
of
would you?
course.
This has 5 years tops.
but
That's great.
I always kind of thought, I wonder what it would be like to be with another artist, because man, she has got her work cut out for her handling me. Like, I mean, come on. And I'm thinking, if there, I can't deal with my own stuff, let alone another creative professional. How does it, can I ask you, Kate,
Yeah, for
how
sure.
do you make that work?
Well, luckily with Sean, like it's the best, easiest relationship. Like I don't necessarily believe all artists can be with each other because there's a lot of like ego or jealousy or competition or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I don't feel competitive with Sean at all. I'm proud of him for everything that he's accomplished, everything he's done in his life. Like, it's incredible. It would be weird of me to be upset or resentful or anything like that because
Sure.
that's what attracted me to him. Like, it's amazing. Like, way to go, guy. Like, you're awesome.
Mm.
But like, it does fuel me to be better because like it's really humbling to paint next to someone like him. You're just like, please don't look at this. Like this is shit. Or like
Yeah.
he comes over to like, oh, what you working on? I'm like, please God, don't look at it. Like last night we sat at the table and we were like, let's draw each other from life because we're doing a demo together in Texas,
Mhm.
in like on the 23rd. I don't know if that's in a week or 2 weeks. I don't know what today is. Um, but he and I were sitting across from each other, drawing each other, and like we're not used to like first of all being still when we're working, and then second of all we're drawing each other, so there's like an added pressure to it, and then it's like oh, and then it's just casually like Sean sitting across from me, just drawing me. Like okay, so
Wow.
his ended up he kept working on his looks good. Mine, I didn't really. I was just like, you're moving too much. I can't. I just gave up.
Oh, gee. That's
But
that's
yeah,
one of
so it,
those.
it ended up working out really well.
It's one of those high pressure situations, drawing your significant other. But I imagine, like, because I've had that, because I've drawn and painted Rachel, and that's
Yeah.
initially how I met her, because I was like, man, I got to paint your portrait. I just thought she was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Still, I'm going to say that,
Hi.
of course,
So
but
cute.
I was yeah, I couldn't imagine if she was trying to draw or paint me at the same time. That would be too
So much
much.
pressure. But
Yeah,
like it's also super fun. Like we have like all we get to do all day is like hang out and talk about art or make art. Like
that's
he's
cool.
like he doesn't like I mean he works a lot like doing workshops and he has his own like personal work, but like we all know his personal work's not necessarily like pictures of me. Like it's going to be like cowboy stuff, like,
Yeah.
boy stuff. But
Mm.
like so I'd get to draw and paint him a lot more than like he does because now he spends his spare time, making knives and
Mhm.
doing other things like that. Like, so he gets to do his hobby when he's here.
That's really cool. Yeah, very, very cool. Look, I want to, before we completely turn loose of that thread of what we're talking about with this social media,
Yeah,
let's
get back into serious town.
let's just, well, no, let's just circle back, because this is really interesting. You're kind of making a case for what I've said a few times in the podcast, which is about diversification. and having things to kind of level it out a little bit so that you basically can bear the brunt of whatever's thrown your way. So
Definitely.
there's a lot of stuff that's within our control, which I've said, and people will remember from listening to previous episodes. I've said that a bunch. There's a finite amount of what you can control and a whole heck of a lot of what you can't.
Yeah.
And this is just one of those decisions made by a company. Again, Instagram being owned by Facebook, it's a stroke of the pen, maybe a change of a law or something. And they
Right.
go, we're going to just change and just turn the dial a little bit here. And you get a wholesale fundamental change in the dynamic of your business. And I can
Right.
appreciate that would, it'd send me into a depression and to definitely a panic. Like,
Yeah.
my
Because
God,
that's all
like,
I know.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it was a
So,
little crazy.
so now, like from that, like you found yourself then. So at that time, were you dealing with galleries while that was going on as well?
At that time, no. I was like, I'm
Okay.
done with galleries, like as a whole, because I don't really. I mean, I've shown with quite a few galleries and I've done quite a few shows at this point in my career, or at that point in my career, I'll say. And all of my dealings, I just burned bridges because I didn't appreciate how I was being treated. Like galleries changing my frame at a show without telling me because they didn't like the frame, not getting paid for work that was sold, taking 50% whenever like all I was doing was being harassed about like posting stuff, so that my personal collectors would go and buy from their gallery. So I was done with it. I was like, I can do this on my own. So I burned all the bridges and like just left the gallery world pretty much altogether, except for like, friends, people that I liked, like galleries that I still like, or, like friends galleries or something. But at that point I didn't have anything else. I was just like, well, shit. Like I had not had a backup plan.
Yeah.
So that's what sent me into such a panic and a depression because I felt like it, I know it wasn't, but it felt personal. It felt like all these people like didn't want to see my work anymore. All these people, I don't know, like we all have like some sort of degree of imposter syndrome. So I felt like, oh my God, I've been found out. Like I'm a fraud. Like
Oh,
somebody told
wow.
them that I'm not a trained artist and this is why this is
Oh.
happening, or, whatever.
But okay, look, I I
I'm
look at
sorry.
your work and you are so good. I'm not just saying that because you're sitting here in front of me on Skype. I look at your work. I'm like, wow, how could somebody like you possibly have that imposter, syndrome thing going on? And I just because it's great work. But again, on the gallery side of things, like I totally reflect that experience, and I too burned bridges and maybe burned a few too many. And
I don't care. I don't waste my time and I don't like to be treated like shit. So I'm just like, no, bye.
no,
And
no, no,
it
it's
was
cool,
just like, ugh.
but it's standing on the other edge of the river and then looking back and going, oh shit, I got to get
You're like,
back
oh,
onto the other side. I can't cross there anymore. So,
I can't swim.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
No, I totally was like, oh, there's everybody on that side.
so when did because I can hear that this is part of it now. Um, well, actually, before I ask this, maybe we should just insert this into the podcast because I think it's very easy to see. Not that I'm an expert on this, but I think it's relatively easy to see looking back now on
Hmm.
what was going on back there with Facebook, because it first started with Facebook. We all saw what
Right.
happened with Facebook because
Yeah.
there was a time when Facebook came out, everybody jumped on. You could
Right.
make a post, it would go viral, it would be seen by tens of thousands of
It was
people.
the greatest thing.
Oh my
Like,
goodness. And when I first started, I did a how to paint tutorial. It was my first video on YouTube. We cut a trailer for the video and I posted it out there and it went within a week to about 1 million people. I was like, whoa, like
whoa,
like a 1 minute little clip thing. And
that's
then,
like impossible up until up until that time period. Like that,
yeah,
that's
it was,
wow.
it was huge. And then I was looking at it going, oh, let's do it again. So the next one went from 1 million to 2,000. And I was like, oh, wait, what? And it was like,
Like it's missing a couple of zeros.
yeah, I need a few more. And then I never quite got back to that level on Facebook. But right at that time, which was really interesting, is Facebook had opened their gates wide open. They had attracted everybody in to buy into the model, so to speak. And people now, artists, we'll keep it specifically about artists, we could share our work, our creativity with people all over the world. We didn't have to pay a cent. And I think this was a calculated decision. Obviously, it was calculated on Facebook's part. Now, okay, you got all these people. You want them to see everything that you post? Cool. Give us some money.
Right.
Because
They
now,
realize like, hey, wait, you guys are making money on our free app. We need some of that money because
yeah.
that's not fair.
Well, I don't know. I think they knew that this was going to happen. I
Oh, you
just
think that they were like
oh,
reeling everybody in? Oh, that's yeah. I mean,
maybe I'm too much of a conspiracy theorist, but yeah, of course. I mean, these are smart
I
people
love
doing this.
conspiracy theories. Not lying.
Okay, all right.
Send me the conspiracy theory.
We'll go down this rabbit hole maybe off air. But well, we can swap conspiracy theories. I'll be like, did you hear the one about the yeah,
Oh my
anyway.
God.
But then okay, so people went from Facebook over to Instagram, right? And so
Instagram was like, holy moly,
yeah,
now I don't have to read my grandmother, like, not sorry if my
yeah,
grandmother's listening, but like, yeah, like now you can cut all that stuff out and just get to the pictures, which you wanted anyway. Like,
yeah,
oh my
yeah,
God, it was insane. I
yeah.
couldn't believe that this was my life. Like, I get to just scroll on Instagram and all the art is on here.
Mm, mm. So now I guess the only way to get around this is to be one of those people that pop up as a really irritating sponsored post and selling you the next thing and there, which is not undoable. I mean, you could set aside a portion of your income to start advertising on these social media
Right.
platforms. But I think maybe, I don't know, maybe you feel the same. I'm not sure. Tell me what you think. But I think that this is a creature that's, it's like that proverbial creature eating its own tail. Like
Yeah.
I think this is a thing that's like consuming itself, and
Yes, definitely.
out of the ashes something else will come up, and we'll
Absolutely.
have a new platform maybe. But you know, when I
That's
listen
what,
to
yeah, we're all
yeah,
kind of waiting for the next thing. I think we're all
hmm,
like collectively tired of, the social media as it is right now. And we're just kind of waiting for something to rise up or, even if it's not another app, just like the next thing that we can all just be like, cool, now we get to see our favorite artists again. Or
yeah,
now we get to buy art from this person or, like sell our work again or whatever it may be.
yeah.
Who knows
Well,
what that's going to be?
yeah, maybe somebody listening to this thing will create something
Help
just
us.
for artists. Yeah. Well, look, but that said, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people listening to this podcast that are like, okay, guys, okay, settle down. Very, very easy for you to say. You got tens of thousands of followers, on Instagram and wherever. So what do you say to the people that want to have social media as part of their career and as part of, their arsenal of how they share their work with the world? How do you, what advice would you give to somebody listening about how to approach this new world of social media? Would you even try?
I think that, like we're taught that humans are really social creatures and we need, interaction. I think we've gotten to be too social. I think that it's too much now where we can like stalk people and like just know everything that everyone's doing at any time. Like, why is this so interesting? So I don't at this point in time, like you're saying, like the, creature eating its own tail, I think it's kind of collapsing in on itself and we're all just like we want to still maintain some level of like social media, but also like we just want to make the work. So at this point, if someone's just now getting into it, I'd say like try to come up with something other than just this social media thing where it's like, hey, my name's so and so. This is my art. Does anybody want it? Hashtag artist of the day, hashtag Instagram artist, or whatever they say that which hashtags work, which don't anymore. Like it's just it's dying. I really feel like everyone I've talked to about this topic, we're like, it's not even frustrating anymore. We're all just like tired of it and like waiting. I don't think that it's worth it to even, I know this is so bleak. Like, I don't have any advice at all. Like, go meet some galleries, like, go
Yeah.
make relationships with people, have like actual in person studio sales, like, make like go out and network, which is something that I didn't ever believe in until I started doing it. Like up
Yeah.
until a few years ago, I was, living in reclusive places. I move all over the country all the time. Like I didn't believe in networking. I was like, no, I got the internet. Like I don't need to talk to people. I don't fucking like people. Sorry. I don't like people. I don't want to be around them. I don't want to talk to them. Like I don't need to. But I've realized that, now I have a really solid foundation of artist friends. And
Yeah.
that feels good because I didn't really have that before. Like it was like a few artists here and there, but we never saw each other.
Yeah.
Now it's like people that are actually supportive of one another. We're inspired by each other. It feels good because it's a tangible thing. It's not just like someone liking your post, which
Mm.
I I know like perhaps people would think like I'm being jaded or something because I have opinions on all of this with however many followers I have. I'd rather have 10 followers and have a career and be able to sell my work to people who appreciate it than have however many I have and feel depressed about it. Like
That makes
it's
sense.
not a
Yeah.
it's not a healthy place. I think that like you said before, like people do get obsessed with it. They get caught up because that's their identity at that point. You can put out a fictitious person and who you think it's going to be, but the real you, like we can see like how insecure you are. We can see how like it's transparent. So
Yeah.
like I think that all of the things that we're trying to project out into the world on who we are, it's going to show like who we actually are in the end. Like during that time when Instagram like, just really changed everyone's life and stopped letting us see our friends' work, that's whenever we all kind of really had to be humbled and pick ourselves up and keep going and think of something else to do. And so I don't think that social media is the answer, but I don't think it's not the answer. I just think that how it is right now isn't good.
I really appreciate you saying this because there's so much about even our mental health, our mental well-being as artists and creatives. Because look, for myself, for a lot of the artists that I know, mental well-being and stuff, and I don't want to get into the weeds too much on this, but it's touch and go for a lot of us. We're
Right.
sensitive people, we have our heart on our sleeve, and so by feeding into this dynamic that only respond to in a physiological way because it's got you hooked, it's got you
Right.
addicted. And it's,
Right.
again, I've talked about this in the podcast before about balancing the internal and the external. That's
Right.
all external, and the minute you
Mhm.
start focusing over here, you're getting into an unhealthy territory. You're no longer focused
Right.
on doing your art for your reasons. This reminds me of a scene out of a movie. It's a crappy movie from well over a decade ago with Eddie Murphy called Holy Man. And there was a part in that movie where Eddie Murphy is on, they realized this guy who was on a pilgrimage, Eddie Murphy's character, could sell anything. So he was really big into infomercials and he started doing these infomercials. But meanwhile, he's a holy man and he's on a pilgrimage. He just starts speaking his mind and telling
But
the
now it's
truth.
about, yeah.
And then so he's going to sell this big thing. They built him up. Spoiler alert, as if anyone's going to see the movie. But
They're like, wait, don't tell me.
yeah, yeah,
Everybody like hit mute right now.
yeah. So towards the end, they built up this massive advertising campaign, and he
Mm,
completely destroys it and tells everybody, turn off the TV, go outside and feel the
yeah.
grass. And I feel like this is what's happening now with the
Yeah.
social media. Is like we're suddenly going, oh wait, and I love what you said there. I mean, it's not. It's about having a balance between these things, isn't it? It's not
Right.
just about that one thing. It's great,
And
but
I
it's
don't think
also
any of us signed up for what it is now. We all
yeah,
wanted how it was, and that was a balance because it was nice to like be able to put my work out there and then see someone else's work. And then like we get to share and stuff. I think that that's what people are about. I think that right now it's about chasing that high of like, oh, how many likes did I get? Or like your first video got, over 1 million. Now it's like, the next one was 2,000. And you like your initial reaction is to chase that high of
yeah,
like, I got to do better. I got to do what the masses want me to do. And that's where it becomes super unhealthy is whenever you're not being like who you wanted to be, what you wanted to say in the first place, which is
yeah.
something like I can thank Instagram for changing the algorithm because I was putting out work that I knew would make a sale.
Mm.
Not that I didn't like it, I still liked it, I still believe in it, I stand by it, but I kept myself in a cage instead of like, oh, I really want to try this, but I don't know, I can't take a risk because I got to pay my bills or, whatever.
Wow, wow. So so from there, like, so now, like, you're getting back more into the nuts and bolts side of your art business, and I forgive that term, but I like kind of referring to it in that way
Yeah,
because
it simplifies it. It
it's
strips
a
it down.
yeah, it's a physical business. You've got
Yeah,
a product, you're selling it to a client, and
it's
you've got
economy. Like we have to know about
yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. So you've got that side of your business going now, but now I'm hearing that there's a bit of teaching and things going into it as
Oh yeah.
well. Tell me a little bit about, your teaching and how maybe that's kind of maybe added to your journey, or has that been a blessing
Definitely.
or a curse, or how has teaching workshops affected you?
It's affected me for the better, I think. I think that I taught my first workshop in San Diego mm, three, I 3 years, 3.5, 4. I don't remember the year. But I'd say we'll just go with a solid 3. And I had it with a friend, another painter, and we split it 2 days and 2 days. And I was super nervous. I was like, I don't know if I have to say anything. Like, I'm self-taught, so I have imposter syndrome all the time. I'm just like, well, she went to school for art, and she's this amazing painter, and I'm just like, hi, I draw stuff sometimes. Like, I taught myself, so don't take me seriously. So I went into it a little reserved and, nervous and thinking people were going to like laugh at me, but then they were really receptive. Like, apparently my method of, like, I love drawing. I love charcoal. I think that charcoal on its own is a standalone piece, and like, screw anybody who says differently. But so I'm like, I teach a kind of unconventional method where I just like taught myself this fast way of getting to where I needed to go. And so other people started valuing that. So teaching that first workshop ended up being really, it felt good because people were like, oh my God, I never thought about that way. And it's made my life easier. And so that I was like, hell yeah, that's all we're trying to do is just get there faster. So after that, I took maybe like a year, and then I was like, I'm going to do another one. And so then it just kept building from there. And now I have the in-person relationship with other artists that are like so inspiring, like incredible works. Like, the first workshop I taught, I met this incredible muralist, like just insane murals. And I'm just like, I could never, that's so big. Like, I could never do that. But it's allowed me to now have a network of friends, artists that like we believe in each other and we support each other. And then also like listening to myself talk about why I'm making a mark or why I'm doing this, and actually knowing I have intention behind what I'm doing instead of just like, I hope this works. Like, it's taught me things like about my own work. So I feel fulfilled in doing it. And I get, like I get to travel, and now Sean and I teach like at the same time at places. So like we get to travel together and, do art and then meet people and have all these amazing experiences all over the world, which doesn't suck at all. And then I
That's
just started
awesome.
a nonprofit. So now some of the workshops will have, 3 or 4 spaces for like full scholarship for low income kids, like 12 to 17 range, sponsored by Generals, Trical, Savoir Faire. Everything's just given to them. So in the places
Wow.
where budgets are cut for art, or maybe, like however financial restraints on certain families, like I didn't grow up with like a lot of art supplies because we grew up, very not rich. But now I think that it's the most important thing, because if I would have known that I could be an artist a long time ago, I think that my life would have been different. Not saying that I don't have any regrets about it. Like, I'm here now, and that's all that matters. But I'd like to just tell someone, like, whatever you want to do, like, if you feel it, just do it, because you can. I I just started doing this, and I'm doing it. Like, anybody can do it.
That's
So that's
awesome.
like, yeah. So it's been really amazing. So after all that shit happened with Instagram, I'm like depressed and blah, blah, blah. And I meet up with my business partner now, Neil, at the nonprofit, who's this incredible like filmmaker, and this amazing story of like his life and how he's like, made nonprofits and been involved in charity. And it couldn't have happened at a better time, because we're both like, doesn't matter what we're going through. Like, I just want to help someone else, because nothing feels better whenever you're depressed than helping somebody else who, doesn't have the means to. And like, not
Yeah.
that I'm
Yeah.
not
100%.
saying that it's a selfless act. It's completely selfish. I feel awesome whenever I help someone, but they do too. And maybe they will go on and help someone else. So it couldn't have happened at a better time. So after that happened with Instagram, my career was in a different place. I just started teaching more, and then now made it a nonprofit. So no matter what's happening, like, there's always someone I can be helping, instead of feeling like, oh, Instagram took a shit and now, oh, woe is me. Like, who cares? About artists earlier, how, we have to battle, like we do skirt the edge of, depression or whatever it might
Yeah.
be because we're all in our heads all day and your
Yeah.
brain's never like, you're doing a really good job. Like it's never supportive. It's always like,
No.
you should probably like do something bad. Like you should probably like just set fire to everything and
Oh,
whatever. Or like, so we have to always have that like checks and balances. So sometimes things do have to like your life has to collapse or what you thought was your life has to collapse so that you can figure out the next thing to do,
yeah.
whether it's helping someone and then, whatever, go to a museum, feel inspired, like find what
Yeah.
made you do it in the first place instead of having that monster of a career. And unfortunately, as artists, we have our job as a hobby. So it's a little complicated because we have to always like be true to ourselves, but we also have to make money. So it's like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
always a balance there. And
And
it helps me whenever things explode to check back in on like, is this my authentic thing that I'm trying to say? Like, am I actually being true to myself or am I just doing this because I know, Instagram will like it or whatever?
mm,
And
I,
it really,
mm,
it was nice to build that from the ashes of just like, look, I wasn't really like inspired by my own work. Like I know that might seem weird, but like whenever you're on a roll and like whenever you have a goal and you get there and you're already over there, like that's the best feeling is whenever you're just like jiving with it and like really going full steam ahead. And whenever that's not happening, sometimes things explode and it is kind of like a serendipitous thing that happens where you are like, okay, well, I wasn't even happy doing that. So now I get to like check in and do what I wanted to do instead.
mm. I always find that there's a lag time between the event happening and that crisis taking shape and
Yeah.
then the meaning that you derive from it. So, what I've been getting better with in recent years, again, a Tony Robbins quote that I've said in other episodes, I learned this from listening to his material and reading his books. I mean, I'm a massive consumer of personal development stuff,
Hmm.
but the quote or the saying is how could I use this? And for me, it always ends up happening much later down the track, but I'm getting
Right.
better at kind of plugging that in right
It's
away.
really hard too, because
Yeah.
I mean, you can't beat yourself up about like, sometimes you need to like actually go through the load because like
Hmm.
that's your growing time, unfortunately. Like, I can be super self-righteous about it right now, but I'm not depressed right now. Like, ask me in like however many months, and whenever I'm like, oh my God, like, and
Yeah.
that's a very selfish thing because that's all you can feel. Like,
Yeah.
all I can do is be selfish because it's just me. Like, I'm all I can do. Like, that's all I got. So, like, you have to have the lows to come out and like reflect back. But like each time is truly unique and different. But like
Mm.
each time you can pull something, like you said, like, how can I use this? And then you fuel that for those times when you're just like on a roll. And then it's a cycle all the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's again, I think it's just so important that we try to keep to the positive side as well as much as possible. Like to just
Yeah.
practice positivity and optimism, I think for
Right.
creatives is really essential because I love what you're saying that why couldn't the voice in my head be the one standing on the sidelines going, "You're awesome. You can do
You're doing a
anything.
good
You're doing a
job. Way
great
to go.
job."
Woo!
The
Like,
way
yeah,
the way
no.
you rendered that shadow is just on point. Wow,
Yeah.
Andrew, you're the best. That's the best log that's ever
Mine's
been
like some
painted.
gloomy emo kid. Like, that's stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever.
But listen, I've got a gloomy emo kid in my head too, and and I appreciate you being so open with me about this stuff with your journey and social media.
I
Um,
think it's important. I think that people need to be more honest. I think that we're kind of in a weird place where it's like the social media where we're like really social, but we're also like lying to people about our journeys or how we work or whatever. Like, do you use reference? Oh, you did. Or like, who gives a shit? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, all
yeah,
these things, wouldn't you want to connect with people like how you're feeling? It's not you're the only person that's ever felt these things. Like, other
mm,
people feel this way, and it feels better to be vulnerable and connect with someone else that is brave enough to be vulnerable than to be fake and insecure and like
mm,
all alone.
yeah.
So I like being honest and I don't see the harm in it.
Do you think? Do you think part of this dynamic, because technology is getting so good, like I can make a video feasibly right now, myself on my own, that would rival anything that could have been put on TV, say, 10 years ago.
Oh my God, you'd blow everyone's mind.
But now you can do that because I've got the editing programs, I've got the filters, I've got the music,
Mm-hmm.
I've got, I'm still building the experience, sure, but I'm saying that capability is there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there's some element of the technology itself that causes us to put up like this polished veneer, so to speak, that
I think
then,
so. I think we've become desensitized a lot. I think
yeah,
that we're just like it's it's kind of like the same thing as the chasing the high of like likes and stuff. You know what's worked and you see what someone else is doing and you're like you only see it purely for your next move. You stop seeing the art, you stop being wowed by the art because we have that all day. Like we can just look through thumbnail after thumbnail or like Instagram post after Instagram post of incredible art. And now we don't really see it anymore. We take advantage of it and we're just like, oh, well, he got like 9,000 likes in 4 minutes or whatever. Like we don't see it for art or what it's supposed to be anymore. We see it as like a competition. I think we've really lost ourselves along the way because we don't have feelings for what we're doing anymore. So you can make this crazy video that would have just like really like if you went back in time would just be like how much did you spend on that? But now people would be like, "Oh, that's cool." Like
hmm,
it's cool. Like
yeah,
what?
yeah. No, look at it, damn it. How cool,
Yeah.
how cool is
Tell
this?
me how cool I am in the comments.
Okay, people listening to the podcast, if you're still listening at this point, please comment below if you're watching on YouTube. How cool are we in the comments? No,
How
don't
cool.
do that.
You're
Don't
gonna
do
get so
that.
many thumbs down and we're gonna cry. We're gonna make a depressed podcast.
But I mean, this is the thing. I mean, again, a lot of people are coming at this, because a lot of people, and I want this to go out to the people who are just starting out. I want this to be something that is, ironically, from the tone of this conversation so far, something that is positive and
It
and
is
and
positive.
and,
I
and
feel
uplifting in a way.
positively about it.
Yeah, no, I
As
know, I know.
depressing as it is, I feel really great.
So I hope that people understand it and can hear that point because what
Yeah.
this does is it drives us back to the source, always
Right.
coming back to the source. We're realizing now this is external. This is stuff that doesn't
Right.
matter. It's not
Yeah.
about the likes. It's not about the views. It comes back to the art.
It
And
means literally nothing. Like
yeah,
it means so little that you get upset when you don't get a lot of them. Like that's how little it means. It mostly just makes you angry. And anything that just makes you angry, you should get rid of it. And like, yes, I understand we can't just get rid of Instagram. A lot of us still have our careers on there somehow dangling by a thread, but like to let go of like it's a competition with everybody instead of like, hey, let's talk about our own unique journeys and how they're actually as like we might find a lot of different paths, like we all still have pretty much the same feelings during the whole thing. Like
Mhm.
we've elected for this to be how we are going to make a living and support ourselves while staying creative, balancing all of that stuff. You think that every thought that you have right now, any depressing thought is uniquely yours? No. Like artists have been battling mental health since the beginning, as we know. And also, I think that we need to share more with each other. Not like you don't have to tell me your whole life story, like share what you're comfortable with, but like just share your actual and authentic feelings of
Yeah,
like, how do you really feel about this? Like,
yeah.
not what are you going to say because, you want a lot of YouTube likes or you want like Instagram to think you're neat. Like,
Hmm.
just like how do you feel because like you said it goes to the source and the source is always going to be the truth and I feel like being honest, I know they say it's the best policy but like I don't see anything wrong with being honest unless you have bad intentions. That's going to come out and those are the people that are going to be scared about being honest.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because there's only so long you can keep up a facade or a lie, isn't there? There's only so long that will
I don't
last.
even if I can't like I just can't
Mm.
do it so like anytime I have had to lie I'm just like shit I'm never going to remember that. Like it's not the truth so I can't remember it.
Oh, gee, gee, wow. So where do you think from here? So people hearing this and they're maybe they're new to social media and they're just leaping out into their career. What do you think the right balance is? Or like, and I know I'm asking you a loaded question here because we did speak in the beginning that there's no right cookie cutter way of
Right.
approaching your creative journey. But where do you think the future is? So if somebody wants to kind of leap out onto the stage as a professional full-time artist, what's it going to take from your perspective?
It's a weird question because like you're talking about you want this to reach the people that are starting out. I'm like, "Oh good, that's me. I'm going to listen." Like because I still don't feel like I don't feel like I've made it anywhere. Like I'm still learning stuff. I'm still like, what is my method for painting? Like I don't know. So the things like that where it's like, where do you think someone should start or like where do we go from here kind of thing? I don't know. Like I think that if you want to do something, you're going to find a way to do it. And that's why all of our journeys are unique, but still kind of like we maintain that common denominator of our feelings kind of being the same. So I think that each person, no matter what the algorithm is that gets you to where you feel comfortable, that's what you should do because no matter what, like you're gonna figure it out. No matter if you lose your house, if you lose your significant other, if you get $1 billion and you're still not fulfilled, like that drive that we decided to be artists for, or like we innately know that we're an artist, like we have that creative thing. I always knew I was different. I didn't know it was because I was like a weirdo artist. Like I just thought I was like, I don't fit in anywhere. Like that's me. But we're all that. And so because of that, it kind of ties us in together. But our journeys are different because like we're all coming at it in this place where we're like, I have to do this and I don't know how, but I'm going to make it happen. So that might not be like the best advice, but like, I'm not, I don't know. Like whoever wants something so badly that it keeps them up at night, they're going to do it.
Look, I think that's a perfect answer to it. Again, and as I said, it was a bit of a loaded question because I know full well that there's no way you can just say, "Bam, this is where we go. This is how we do it."
Yeah.
And I think what it comes down to as well is that burning desire to create the best that you know how to create. And to speak, and again, you mentioned that word is one of my favorite words, authenticity, to speak authentically about what really moves you as an artist. And then I think out of doing that, out of really deliberately searching for that, the path reveals itself.
Right. And you might not even know it until like even just talking to you, we are now reflecting on like our past and looking back, and it becomes a little more clear because now you're looking at it with like a different set of eyes than whenever you went through it and you had no other choice but to do this commission, or you had to do like you had to work with someone you don't like, or you had to, whatever it might be. You might not know it at that time, but whenever you look back, you're like, I couldn't have done it any other way, or in the future, this is how I will do it. But everything you decide on doing and every way you want to do it, if there's intention in being yourself in there, I mean, that's all you can do. And I think that ends up sorting itself out in our kind of mental health discussion. Like if you're just being you, I think that's where you, or I mean, if you as the general you is anything like me, that's where you'll find your happiness, is being you instead of being who you've projected yourself as, or who people want you to be, or who people expect you to be.
It's weird because being on YouTube, I find myself getting further and further away from that. I have to continually hit the reset button and come back. It's like, should I say that? No, that's stupid. That's how you open every video, Andrew. Say this. No.
You like are hyper analyzing every thing.
Yeah, too much light from the 45, Rembrandt lighting. Okay, what about this jumper, this sweatshirt, this t-shirt? Okay, cool. I stayed up all night last night. Makeup under the eyes? No makeup. Okay, what am I doing? Whatever. It's just this constant kind of battle, but again, I find for myself, just again reflecting on what you're saying there, like when I just go, what, it doesn't matter what's in me. Let's just find that thing in me. Let's get that out. Let's not focus on try and preempt what other people want to see, whether it's with my art or anything. And I think again, for people starting out, if we check back in and go, okay, it's not about painting something that I think, or drawing something that I think somebody else wants to see, and doing another portrait of the Joker that I think somebody wants to see. I mean, come on, right? Have you noticed this phenomenon?
No, I laughed because like there was like 4 that popped up when I opened my Instagram this morning. I was like, I get it. It's very hot right now.
Okay, that's exactly right. It's everywhere.
But that's somebody else's unique idea. Like that's the thing, is like making fan art kind of, it doesn't do whatever you want to do. If it makes you happy, make it. But like, it's like, for me, it's like, but somebody had that. It's not my idea. So I feel weird, like taking it.
Okay, I've just hit Instagram. That's the first damn post, all right? That's the first one. And what do we have?
You stop listening to us.
There we go. Yeah. Okay, no, that it's not the
But it's
Joker,
true.
but it's look. There's some, and whoever drew that, I mean, no disrespect, it's an awesome drawing. Like they're awesome works, but I do
But I
feel
want to
like,
see what they want to say. Like I want to like that's okay. So whenever I teach a workshop, this is
mm,
going to be like just a little a me thing
mm,
for a second. Whenever I teach a workshop, I don't like if I'm teaching from reference, which is most of my workshops are I'm teaching from like photographic reference. I show how I set up my model, how I shoot it because
mm,
hey, guess what guys? I'm using reference a lot. Models can't hold those crazy poses all that time.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like I don't want them to use my reference. Bring whatever you want to draw, whatever you are inspired by. I'm just teaching you like weird little techniques and like little tricks that I've like tried
hmm,
to make that get me there faster.
hmm,
But like, you're not going to make anything half as good if you're copying someone else's work. Totally can copy like, we would copy masterworks forever. That's how we learn. Whenever I first started, I was
yeah,
like just copying people. I didn't know what I was trying to say.
yeah,
And through that, I just stopped looking at other people's stuff and copying them and tried
hmm,
to like do my own thing.
hmm,
And that's when I feel like we make our best work is whenever we're just like, hey, I have all these like technical skills and I know what I'm doing. Why am I like muting my thoughts to copy their work that they've already done?
yeah. Look,
I really went in a tangent there. I
no,
don't know
no,
how
no,
I.
no, 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 perfect. No, not at all. That totally relates because, again, I mean, that's an interesting one as well with the reference, using photo references versus not using photo references. I mean, I have the same thing. Yeah, again, working with models is great, but
Yeah,
sometimes, like, if
you
I'm
should definitely
paying,
do that as an exercise. You should know
yeah,
how people move and are
yeah,
shaped.
but I can't afford to pay them for like the amount of hours I'm going to be working on that painting.
Exactly. And also they're never gonna nail that pose again.
Oh
Like
man, yeah. So
you
I mean,
should
having an absolute like just an abundance of references means that now I'm in control of the process.
God,
And
yeah, I have
again,
so much difference.
to dispel the myth, there because there was something that I was discussing in one of the videos that I put out on YouTube about the use of photographic reference.
Hmm.
As artists, we've been using not just reference material, but lenses in art for hundreds of years.
And that's something that people don't like. The Puritans are like, oh, well, we don't do that. I'm like, but they did when they could, and they found a way to do it, and that's why we're here
Yeah,
because like that's what they wanted to do.
yeah. And I just feel like going, okay, so do you think that Caravaggio or Vermeer were charlatans? Like, were these people like hacks? Like
Hmm.
these guys traced. Okay,
Yeah, they
we're
had to.
talking,
These were like
yeah,
big commissions. They had to get it. Like they
yeah,
people they just romanticize things a little too much when it's like, well, should we do away with toilets? Like we didn't have that back then either. What about your fancy lighting? Like are you painting by candlelight? Are you digging up corpses to study their anatomy? Like
well, that's
it's
dark.
weird to me what people focus on of
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
why? You're only using it to either hold yourself higher, which is anything that you want, like that kind of thing is probably an ill-intended thing, or you're using it to like make someone else feel bad about like why their work is good
mm,
or not good.
mm,
Like first of all, that's a subjective word. Who gives a shit? Like I don't care who uses what reference. If I like the piece, I like the piece. And
mm.
if I end up not liking the piece down the road, it's probably because I don't like the artist, not because the piece is bad. Like I
Wow.
don't
Okay.
care who used what reference. Like that's a dope painting.
Yeah, yeah, cool, cool. Hey, let's talk a little bit about your work itself and your techniques and your approach. First of all, like a fantastic variety of subjects, and again, man, I'm such a fan. Like I love what you do, and again, I'm not just saying that because you're sitting here with me now, but
But a little bit. And that $50 I Venmoed you earlier.
it actually hasn't landed in the account yet. I would have said
Okay.
more, but the,
But you're like,
yeah, the more you pay, the more I gush, and that's just the way this works.
and that's how this show runs.
That's now the secret's out. This is
Sponsored
how
and
this
by
podcast
viewers
works.
like you.
No, seriously. Um, the drawing that I really like was the one of Smeagol.
Oh my God, thank you for liking that.
Yeah,
You said Gollum earlier, and I was like, oh my God, I love Gollum.
yeah. It's so cool. Like pesky little hobbits is. It's so well done. Talk to me first. I want to know just from somebody who's now just getting back into drawing after so many years. I started this thing called Sketch Endeavor, where I encourage other people to draw every day and to share their work on Instagram using the
Yeah.
hashtag Sketch Endeavor.
But at
But
least if you do that and you follow it'll show up.
yeah, it'll
Like
show up.
at
It'll
least
show up.
there's like a
And
way to see it.
I am seeing so many amazing people that are just jumping into that and dedicating themselves to doing what they love, and that's a cool thing. But now that I'm getting into drawing again, like I'm looking at people like you and other amazing draftsmen and just insane artists from around the world, like the skill. So what's your favorite paper to draw on? You're obviously using charcoal and white chalk as well.
Well,
Can
I'm
you
so excited that we're about to geek out over art supply.
let's do it. I want to know how you do it. I've got my pen ready. I'm going to make a list.
Okay.
Let's go.
Hell yeah. Okay, so I always use toned paper. That's just like in the beginning, if you want to just like eliminate a step, which is called making a mid-tone, get a toned paper, whether it be like a dark paper or whatever. I usually use gray. I tend to go to the cooler side of things. I like cooler compositions. I go for like cooler painting palette, like whenever I paint. Um, so I use, right now I'm really into fabric. Actually, the computer's sitting on I'll just move it because, oh, well, look at here.
Oh, wow.
This is what I use.
Fabriano.
I'm using
clay.
Fabriano. I use the clay tone. I love the texture of Fabriano. It's very absorbent with the charcoal to where like it's not too cottony feeling where, you know what I'm talking about, where you like lay in charcoal and it just stays there. Like you can't blend it. So this is a nice like in between. I'm just going to feel it because it feels really nice. I really like it. I use a tone paper and then I use powdered charcoal or powdered pastel. I just get a piece of sandpaper and powder it. And then I dip in with a bristle brush and start making white shapes first, like the highlights. I go for lights first, which is completely opposite of most people.
So you're painting with the chalk dust.
I'm painting. Yeah, it's very painterly. So it's a lot more liberating and free because I'm self-taught. I didn't take a lot of chances. So I'm very timid. I was very timid approaching things. So I'm like, well, if I go light first, it's not as intimidating as the darks. So my pieces can feel finished at any stage because I've got the toned paper and now I've just like done the light shapes. And then from there, I'll take like a mechanical eraser or, gum eraser and then draw out, where the dark shapes are going to be. Then add more highlight, like with a pencil now, like more precision, blend it with a brush because it really makes a nice airbrushy quality. Then start laying in the darks with the brush and the powdered charcoal or pastel.
Wow.
And then at the end, it kind of like emerges and you just put a couple of little like darkest darks and then you have an eye without actually drawing the eye. It's a non-committal way of approaching everything that can feel really intimidating.
Wow. Okay, so the white chalk, is there a particular kind of white chalk that you love using?
I really like Sennelier. I think it's a really luxurious feeling brand. But at the same time, if you don't have access to that or you just have, like, I use a General's products a lot. I use their charcoal and their white their white charcoal pencil. You can powder that also. Okay. So I also like powdering it yourself too, because you can control the grit. Like if you need it grittier for any sort of reason, I usually like it pretty fine. But I powder the white first and then start basically painting and sculpting out the face that way. And then it kind of forms without you doing too much work. And it's exciting the whole time instead of like, oh crap.
That's awesome. Because that's what I love, is this balance in your work between this kind of loose painterly quality, but you seem to just draw it to a beautiful close and refine it just the right amount.
Just enough. Like that's just the thing, enough, is like knowing your restraint. Just like with any artist, you have to know when to just stop doing it, because you could work on the same piece for the rest of your life and never find it. Yeah. You have to just say as much as you can I'm trying to say as much as I can with the fewest actual lines.
Wow.
I like to put like fun lines in, like, not the face, but like using the hair or like the shapes or textures or something, but like to imply things where you can imply them, but perfect the most important parts. And that's totally your own like personal opinion on which you find the most important and where you want to lead the eye. But for me, like this approaching drawings in this way has made me value charcoal in a way I don't think that it is valued. I think charcoal is a very undervalued medium. I think
Mm.
that people are just like, oh, that's cool. I want to learn how to draw so I can paint. Which, yeah, you probably really need to learn how to draw before you paint, but it can be its own amazing medium where you have
Yeah.
completed pieces that are incredibly textured and layered and a lot going on in them where people are just like, oh, but it's not a painting.
There's an Australian artist by the name of George Lambert who drew a charcoal portrait of somebody called Thea Proctor, and I had the fortune of seeing this original portrait drawing hanging at the National Gallery of Australia in Canberra, in Australia's capital. That portrait drawing just stopped me in my tracks, and it made me realize at that time, oh my goodness, I know nothing. And I was just, it
Like,
was
don't those
so,
like really like you follow like you
ah.
keep that and it follows you
And
forever.
it was so hauntingly beautiful. It wasn't that it was like intricately rendered or
Mhm.
detailed, but it was just this guy had emotion and feeling for the subject, and it just was a statement. Bam, and there it is. And I remember,
Everything's intentional. Like
yeah,
that,
yeah,
those always floor me where everything is
mm,
intentional, where you're
yeah.
just like,
And I guess, this is the important thing as well about looking at old masters' works and work online to inspire us
mhm,
to kind of keep going. I'm going to say, like, my experience with drawing has been, graphite on cartridge paper, and I didn't
mhm.
really get into the tonal stuff of using a toned paper or chalk.
Right.
To lay in highlights until really recently. And this has opened
Mhm.
up a whole new world for me. Can I please have, so other people don't give me a hard time. Can I have your permission to give this technique that you're describing a shot?
Yeah, for sure. And if you
Okay,
do,
cool.
like, let me, I want to see like what you come up with. Like
All right.
it really, I love that it just makes it to where I feel like anytime I'm teaching a class and people are doing it, you can see that they really are like, what at first? And then
Yeah.
like they start really getting into it because from the
Yeah.
very beginning, it starts making sense.
Mm.
Instead of like, okay, first I have to do this and then I have to like, and then I have to work around and then build it. Like we're building it, yeah, for sure. But like because it's on the toned paper, it's already coming to life as soon as you put the white down. And it makes, I don't know what it is about the bristle brushes. You'd think that it would be very like harsh. But
Mm.
like the softer the brush, the worse it works with this technique. So you need something like with a lot of
Yep.
like it needs to be very like stiff, but also like you can I scrub it in a lot.
Scrub it.
And the
Okay.
more you scrub it in, like into the like if you're just blending out, I wish I could just like show you what I'm talking about right now. But the more you like scrub the powder pigment in, the more it's very airbrushed and very soft. And
Mhm.
it's just like oh my God, it's my favorite in the world. It's just like watching it like pop out and come to life immediately.
That's awesome. There's something so beautiful about hearing an artist who's completely dialed in and loves what they do and the technique
I
of
love
doing
it
it.
so
It's so cool, man. It's so cool because I feel that way about oil painting and about drawing as well. I mean, about all this stuff. I
much.
totally geek out about it. I mean, I'm addicted to it. It's my life,
Right.
and
It's like a
also,
weird addiction.
yeah, yeah. It's okay. I think it's pretty safe to say this because everybody that's listening to this podcast is going to be a creative or an artist
Yeah.
to some extent.
They're
But
in it because they're geeking out with us.
yeah,
They're
they're
like,
totally
"Ah,
geeking out. I
I
feel it.
love pastel.
But do you ever feel like sorry for people that aren't creative or arty? Because
Yes. Oh my God.
it's
All
like,
the time.
what?
I can't say who it is, but I have a family member because just in case they listen, who's like just like they don't like do any kind of creative thing and they're like well you read too much or like you're a weird artist or whatever and it's just like but don't you want to like why wouldn't you want to do that it feels so
Mm,
great and I do feel a little like
mm,
I wish that you could do this because I feel like you would feel good inside
yeah,
not that they're depressed it's just like everybody should try it. Everybody should just
yeah.
like, what do you have to lose? What, you're gonna make a bad piece? Who's gonna know? Who cares?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's this idea that I've been playing with a little bit recently, where, and I'm not saying that to say that I'm the originator of this idea, but it's just something that I'm
My dog's
really,
gonna join us now.
very, okay.
He's been sleeping right here the whole time.
So
Yeah.
for the people that are listening to the audio version of this podcast, there's now a very cute puppy on Kate's lap, And who is this that is joining us?
Zeus. This is my dog.
Zeus.
I've had him since he was 5 weeks old, and he is 8 now. He's blind, and he's my best friend.
Hey, Zeus.
Yes.
And I understand you've drawn him recently. I've seen that drawing on your Instagram. It is beautiful. Um,
Thank
but have you got it there so I can actually have a look at it?
I do. Funny you should ask. Here it is. I just found it under my computer.
Yeah.
I just like Sean did a painting of Zeus for my birthday. I'm just like, it's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And he just draws Zeus a lot. And I'm like, I should probably draw this guy. I've had him for so long and I've never really like attempted to draw him for real. And so I just had this really great picture of him outside in the grass. And I was like, I'm going to draw that. So like all I have right here is I have like a little outline in just a big mechanical pencil and then some white charcoal. So that's really all that's going on. And then like a little bit of graphite just for whenever I decide to add some charcoal, like darker charcoal.
Beautiful. It's got
Yeah.
such great feeling, great character. I love your technique. I'm definitely going to be playing with
I
this.
can't wait to see what you think of it, like if you like it or what you come up with, because like that's what's so cool is like not providing reference or not like trying to like influence anybody. I'm just like, just do this cool thing and then like you do whatever you want to do. And it kind of like I guess it must feel like how people make like 3D models of stuff whenever they have a like a linear idea and then they put it out and then it's like a thing. Like that's how I feel about this technique, but I'm
Yeah.
all geeking out about it.
So, do you do a little bit of painting as well? I mean,
I do.
yeah. So, what's a split for you? Is it like most of it charcoal drawing, or like okay,
Most, like you know how it gets whenever you just like you do a medium for so long without changing how you're doing it and you're like a little bored or you just want to spice it up. So I started like I used some gold leaf with charcoal for a little while. That was pretty cool. And then I have some ideas for more charcoal, but I want to get back into painting and more textures because I don't
Nice.
paint like how I draw. I don't know how I paint. I don't have a formula. I'm mostly just like, I hope this looks okay. Like
Yeah,
I don't know what
yeah,
to do. I'm just like winging it because I'm self-taught, so I'm just figuring it out on my own.
sure,
Like I have Sean around now who's like there if I need to ask questions, but I'm really stubborn, so I want to figure it out without anybody's help. So
okay,
it becomes kind of like a like I have this whole wonderful utopia of information that's just available to me if I need it, but I'm just like, I got this far. I just want to figure it out because like I feel like I can. I'm stubborn, which is totally counterintuitive to me teaching workshops. Like I know it's weird. I'm a hypocrite, but I wish that I would have taken workshops whenever I first started out. I don't even know what you asked the question about. Now I'm over here. Oh, painting. Yeah,
yeah,
I do paintings. Right now I'm working on a painting of a friend of mine, this amazing model. She looks like seriously like Sargent or even like a Muka, like just incredible timeless features. We did a shoot the other day. I'm so excited about it. I started out in a different way than I usually do, and I'm just going to start scratching it down and then building it up again and then scratching it down. I just want more texture. I want my paintings to feel more alive than I feel like they do currently because if I'm bored making the paintings, then I'm assuming people are going to be bored looking at the paintings.
I don't know. I mean, from seeing a few of your paintings again online, I'm blown away. I'm just like, wow, man. It's skill. It's hard to go past somebody that has got a lot of skill. But this is the other thing that I really love is that most of the people that I talk to, I would say 99.999%. I've only met a couple of people that had it whipped and figured out, and they
Hmm.
told you all about it, and they didn't have it figured out. By the way,
Yeah,
they were just saying that they
they're
did.
just
So,
like, it's funny how much conviction can get you by.
oh wow, but you, yeah, to me it just hits me. It's like smelling salts. It's like, whoa, dude, we cannot be in the same room at the same time. Holy moly! Because the thing that gets me and it just gets me so enthusiastic and juiced about this thing that is painting and drawing and art, is that how much there is to know. Like
It's too much. It's endless.
it's
And
endless. Yeah.
like using like Sean makes his drawings a certain way and then I make my drawings a certain way and just the difference between how we're both approaching it,
Hmm.
like who cares about the end product at this point, like how different and crazy. And like to talk about techniques with another artist is probably one of my favorite things to talk about, like
Yeah.
materials, like application, technique. Like it's so fascinating how we've chosen to do this thing and make the thing look like the thing that's in our head.
Yeah.
Like, so for me, like making paintings right now is like, I don't want to just make a painting on a panel. Everyone's doing that and they're doing it so well that I don't feel that I can change the game in that way. Like I'm trying to do something fun, not like original because no one's original anymore, but like just something that feels like really good. Because with my charcoal stuff, I feel like I'm doing something really different and it feels different. And I'm enthusiastic about like my approach with that. With painting, I'm more like, okay, I'm painting a subject just like on a panel, which I try every painting to make something a little bit weird or off about it so that I can bring it back to like, this will be me in this thing. So I got kind of burnt out on everything last year. And I was like, I want to start painting again, but I have panels everywhere. I just don't really want to paint a painting on a panel. So I went to the flea market, the Rose Bowl flea market here in Pasadena, and just bought like a bunch of old antique stuff. Like over here I got this compact and I did a painting of mine and Sean's eyes in it.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if it's like showing up.
That is absolutely showing up. What a beauty. What a thing.
Thanks. I was just like, I just want to make stuff on stuff. So then I bought some magnifying glasses and then like scratched the surface a little bit and then painted stuff on that.
Yeah.
And so now I have like a bunch of things that I haven't actually painted. Like the first thing I tried was a bowl. I tried to paint on a glass, like goldfish bowl, which was weird. But just stuff like that where I just want to like have fun mostly. And like
Sure.
for me, that was super fun. I got to paint. I got to like, practice oil painting and, like different techniques that I've been thinking about. Because like we're always learning about art, even if we're not making art. We're constantly like trying to absorb all the information from other painters that we're seeing, whether it's like old masters or contemporary painters. We're always trying to learn all the things. So I was trying to take what I had like learned and apply it into like something that seemed more fun for me. So now with the new thing that I'm doing with painting is just like I've put one layer of just like a block in, like just block shapes where like it looks like, the thing that it is, but I'm going to scratch it down and then add more layers of it and then eventually perfect like the drawings, just like put a little bit of information and then hopefully it can just like pop out. We're hoping.
That's cool.
I said we're hoping like Gollum just now. I don't know.
Oh no, it's real with you, isn't it? It's yeah. All of those personalities in one head.
They're all in there.
Look, this has been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed this so much, and I appreciate your honesty and your openness as well. And I think we maybe need a bit more of that in this space. And this is something again that I enjoy so much about the podcast is getting a chance to really drill down into somebody else's story. Sure, their art, their technique, but how they got to where they go, and then also hearing what makes them tick. And that's why it's just such a treat. And so thank you, Kate, for your time.
It's been really good because like we are the people that are making the art. So I think it's important. Like you're not just the guy who makes the videos and the podcast and all that stuff and your art. Like you're a human being, and it's really cool to, like you said, like strip it down, but then like connect to that person who's probably a lot like you. And that's why I feel like the honesty is awesome. And it's like led me to be able to have like a really cool conversation today. And now a new fellow conspiracy theorist.
Well, Kate Zambrano, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me on The Creative Endeavor.
Thank you so much.
Well, I really hope that you've enjoyed this episode of the Creative Endeavor podcast. And a huge thank you to Kate Zambrano for joining me. Now, if you'd like to see some of her work, then make sure you find her on Instagram at Kate Zambrano and on her website, www.katezambrano.com. Now, if you like this episode of The Creative Endeavor and you want to see more podcasts like this, please click that like button for me, leave me a comment down below, and make sure you're subscribed to this channel. As always, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, but most important, make sure you subscribe through my website at andrewtischler.com. My subscribers get my videos 24 hours ahead of the rest, and they get a chance to interact with me in that comment section down below. But also, they get some really cool discounts whenever I release a big tutorial. So if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, make sure you subscribe through the website. It's free to do so. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'll see you again soon.